Here's how to raise money for your real estate investments. Number 1, get the deal. Number 2, get the investors. Number 3, write the contracts. 4, sell the property. And 5, split the earnings. It's a lot easier than you probably think it is. Now, I've personally raised over $60 million for my real estate investments, and in this video, I'm gonna debunk some of the dumbest myths you probably ever heard that are holding you back from your real estate success. Myth number 1, you need to raise at least $1 million. Truth, 100K is probably more than enough for many locations, especially in the United States. Now, for my local area where I personally live most of the year, which is Kitchener-Waterloo, Ontario, Canada, properties are anywhere from a minimum 600 grand, 700 grand for a single family house or a duplex property. That is a very high price range. So in those scenarios, you're gonna need hundreds of thousands of dollars. But if you're investing in markets kind of like we are, where we're going down to Florida for our Airbnbs or Texas for our long-term holds, you know, we're buying properties in Texas for around $170,000, $180,000. So when you take into account the down payment, 20% down or 30% down, if you're from Canada like me, you spend about 30, 40 grand on renovations, some holding costs, you're easily into a deal for as little as possibly $80,000 to $100,000. It really depends on your local market or where you're willing to invest. You don't need millions. Myth number 2, you need lots of experience. Truth, you need some experience, but what you need more in order to raise money and scale your real estate business is credibility. And the best way to do this, from what I know, is doing it on social media and just teaching and showing people what you have done in real estate, what you're capable of, where you're investing, what do the numbers look like, etc. This is really what your partners are looking for, is credibility. And do you know, at the very least, what you're talking about? Surprisingly, experience comes second. Myth number 3, you need a huge network in order to raise capital. Truth, you don't need that many people or a huge network. You just need a small but impactful and conscious following that's willing to invest with you. Kind of like the Fruitful subscribers on my channel, so thank you very much. I was raising money from my YouTube channel here when I only had like 500 subscribers, and I raised millions and millions of dollars from that very small following. So don't focus too much on the size of your network, just get to work and start talking about what you're doing online. Myth number 4, you gotta be located in a major city in order to raise money. Truth, that's an absolute lie, especially in this new globalized world where I can reach anybody, anywhere, any time of the day. I've raised over $60 million, all from mostly social media, which is mind-blowing. And I'm just some dude living in some small town compared to most cities in Kitchener, Ontario, Canada. Have you ever heard of this city? Probably not. You could be living in some small town in Montana or Utah or Idaho and raise a ton of money if you know what you're doing and you know how to communicate decently well online. Myth number 5, you need a certain level of education in order to raise money. Truth, you can be a dumb shit like me and raise billions of dollars. I barely graduated high school, not because I was dumb, maybe a little bit. I mean, I'm still not really that good at math, and my whole entire career revolves around math, but thankfully, I got some calculators and I know how to run them. If you're knowledgeable in what you do, if you're confident, if you have good communication skills, if you have credibility, if you have experience, and all these things tied together, you're gonna do very well. Myth number 6, you need to be a certain age in order to raise money. Truth, again, that's a total lie. You can be 13 years old, 14 years old, it doesn't matter. As long as you know what you're doing and you know what you're talking about, you can raise money. When I started raising money, I was 24 years old, literally raising millions of dollars. And at that point, I think I only had about 4, 5, 6 rental properties. But here's the thing, if you really want to win in real estate, here's 2 truths about real estate that most people won't agree with. Number 1, the market is not saturated. There's still room for you. And 2, dumb people make more money in real estate than smart, educated people. How can I say this? I barely graduated high school, like I said. I personally make way more money than the vast majority of Harvard grads who they probably wouldn't be able to cut it in real estate because of this one reason. They're too focused on theory rather than getting their hands dirty when needed and just getting shit done. They're too soft. So if you grew up in a blue collar type family, you have some edge to you, you're willing to hustle and put in the work, I'm telling you, you will beat out many, if not the vast majority of successful people who went to Columbia, Harvard, Stanford, etc. Now, through all the videos I've made and helping all my clients and my partners, a lot of them say the same thing. They just can't get started. They don't know where to start. Well, here's some good and bad news. The real estate market is open like crazy. You just need to escape the trapdoor deals that are getting everybody else rich and not you, such as your contractors, your realtors, your lawyers, while you're bleeding to death every month financially speaking because you bought the wrong rental property. Here are some big red flags that you definitely want to avoid when it comes to investing in real estate. 1, the property is in a declining market. One of the worst things you can do as a real estate investor is to buy a property in a declining market. We can renovate the floors, renovate the kitchens, make it all look nice, but if you're in a bad market or in a bad area, this is not going to be good for you. So what you want to do is always buy a property in an up market, which in nerd speak basically means good GDP growth, good job growth, good population growth, which will always lead to an increase in rental prices. These are the fundamentals of real estate that almost nobody understands. I don't know why. Maybe because it's not the sexy stuff, it's not the interesting stuff like flipping a house, making a nice kitchen. The worst thing you can do is buy a property in the area where all the jobs are leaving, the manufacturers are closing down, people are losing their jobs. It's not going to be too much longer until people stop paying you rent. The area turns into a crack haven and you're left with no money and a hell of a lot of problems. So do yourself a favor, check out all the videos on my channel talking about how to find areas that have good population growth, good job growth, because these are the things that are going to lead to more money for you. Part 2, crime rate is rising near your property. Now, this isn't so much as a problem if you're investing in a lot of major Canadian cities. We just don't have the crazy crime rates that America does because our cities are a lot smaller and maybe, just maybe, I hate to admit it, maybe the government is a little better at providing safety for our citizens and cracking down on criminals. It's a reality that there's a crime issue in a lot of places in the US and a lot of good places that you're probably gonna want to be investing in around major cities. America's a lot different in the way that they have their zoning districts or their residential districts where some certain neighborhoods have a higher crime rate and thus the schools in those areas get lower funding and it just kind of perpetuates this circle of poverty over and over again. We don't really have that in Canada. All the school systems are created equally. They're all very good. They all get equal funding all across the country. But nonetheless, if you're investing in America, definitely make sure that you're checking out the zip code and the neighborhoods you're investing in, because if that crime rate starts rolling and creeping into your area where you're investing, that is going to set you up for a lot of problems. Obviously, when you're attracting tenants to come and live in your properties, they're going to research the zip codes, they're going to research the school districts and what school gets the most funding, etc. for their kids. And if you're in one of those bad areas, it's going to suck. So unfortunately for this topic, if you're investing in the US, you have to do a little bit more homework than you would in Canada when it comes to finding a bad neighborhood. That being said, I still only flip properties in Canada. I'm no longer buying any more rental properties, even though it's such a safe country, free healthcare, all these wonderful things, because the goddamn taxes are way too high here and the rules for the tenants are way more in their favor and it's not fair for the property owner. So we're going down to America and we're doing more of our homework when we're investing in these specific neighborhoods. Part 3, loan partners are up your ass. So raising money is probably the easy part. What gets most people is when you have the partners on your deals and they're up your ass wanting to know all the details. How much money are we making? What kind of tenant do we have? What's going on? What color are you painting the walls? What kind of flooring are you using? What kind of sink are we putting in? These are the realities of working with other people and working with partners. However, I will say that if you follow the Fruitful metric on how to attract your partners and the way specifically I do it via social media and how I do on social media, which by the way, I have a course in the links below teaching you exactly what I do that's allowed me to raise over $60 million all from social media. And the reality is the way I do it is by attracting great people who want to work with me and they never ask any questions. Why? They're partnering with the damn Fruitful investor. They know that their money is safe. I'm working my ass off for them. I got systems in place. I've been through the ringer. I've done over 150 flips. I know how to do this, man. Don't worry. Now I've done this by showing my track record, obviously showing my credibility. Dude, my partners sleep at night so well. And this is why I want you guys to focus so much on social media, on how to build a brand, how to build a business, because the types of partners that you're gonna be attracting via this marketing strategy is 10x better than if you were just looking for partners at some random real estate investment networking group, some shitty club that they got going on. This is old world marketing where you go meet people, shake their hand, show them a pro forma of this property you're checking out and you're looking for partners. That's the wrong way to go about it, dude. I just come up here and I show all my before and after flips, which is very, very important to build credibility. And all my viewers, all my subscribers, and all the people that are just an inch away from wanting to partner with me, when they see all of that stuff on YouTube and Instagram, for example, they're sold. My partners are sold before they even call me. They're already sold. Part 4, the prices don't add up. So this is one of the reasons also why we're no longer buying rental properties in Canada or Ontario anymore. I kind of feel like the glory days of real estate just passed us, and we're never, ever gonna see that type of growth, that doubling, that tripling of property values within a 3 to 5 year span ever again in Canada. And I mean, how could they? Just think about it. So if I look at these high prices and the amount of income and salaries that the average Canadian is making, which is about $50,000, maybe $60,000, people at this point can barely afford an average nice single family home, which is about $750,000, $800,000 for something that doesn't require a crap ton of renovations. Those are the prices, 800 grand at best. These people can still today barely afford these properties. So how do you realistically expect that $800,000 property to become $1.6 billion even in the next 10 years? It's literally, I think, logically impossible to happen. The wage growth isn't there to support another doubling or tripling of real estate property values ever again. Now, does that mean property values can't go up in Canada? Oh, they're certainly going up, but we just don't have the infrastructure to support all of this population growth and immigration. There's just not enough houses. This is why I'm still flipping actively in Canada, because that demand for real estate is so insanely strong. So our flips are crushing it. We're now buying in Florida and Texas specifically for the long-term boring single family rentals. Why? I'm buying properties down in Texas for about $180,000. You can see the difference. The average American makes $40,000 a year, and the houses in Texas are 180 grand. The average income in Canada is 60,000 a year Canadian, but you need to buy an $800,000 house. Insane in Canada. Can a $180,000 nice single family house, double car garage, 3 bed, 2 bathroom, can that house go from 180 to 360? Yes. Can it go again from 360,000 to 720,000? Yes. I believe that can happen as well. Part 5, structural issues in the building, HVAC, plumbing, etc. When I'm buying a property, I like easy peasy, boring, and I love cosmetic renovations the most. Even me being a carpenter in my past life, that's how I became into the real estate industry. I still want to avoid houses at all costs that have major roof issues and especially major foundation issues, floors are sagging or tilting. I want to avoid all those things and only buy houses that are structurally sound but are ugly as hell. With the shag green carpet, the 1950s kitchen, I can just easily change that kitchen out, put some new flooring, paint, doors, trim, and I'm out of there, and that property looks amazing. For example, one of the worst properties I ever bought when I kind of didn't listen to my own advice was this old century home in Stratford, Ontario. That's where Justin Bieber was born, by the way. Old theater, quaint little town with these old nice houses. Everybody loves an old century home, so I thought, screw it, I'm gonna buy this piece of crap that really should have been bulldozed. But we ended up paying so much money on things that you don't get the money back from, like tree roots growing into the plumbing underground. I had to replace all of the plumbing underground, and even though I told the buyers that and put on the listing, I got new plumbing in this house right to the street. People don't care about that. Nobody paid me for that. They care about the nice mirror in the bathroom, how nice the countertops look. That's what buyers are paying for. So while I spent all this money on plumbing and new windows and a brand new roof I had to reconstruct, nobody cared. That money went down the drain. Part 6, low rental income in ratio to purchase price. So kind of going off where I talked about property values far exceeding the average wage in Canada, and I just can't see those property values going up again. That's kind of the same thing with rental income. I mean, if we're buying a property at $800,000 in Canada, but the rent is only $2,000 a month, that's a bit of an issue. Cash flow in Canada, especially for residential and single family real estate investing, is almost impossible now in quality major cities. So make sure when you're running your numbers that the income to the property price makes sense and the property is gonna cash flow on day one. Part 7, the property has a weird layout and is hard to renovate. So when we're buying flips or rental properties, I'm always ideally looking for a house that has an open floor plan, especially on the main floor, or can I make it an open floor plan? Can I open some walls up, bring the kitchen into the living room, open concept? That's what all the cool kids want. That's what all the Gen Zs and the millennials want. that's what the buyers want. So when I'm buying real estate, I'm looking for homes where I can do that. You want to try and avoid homes where the kitchen is sheltered in its own little corner and there's absolutely no way you can open it up to the living room because maybe a stairwell is right in front of it. We see a couple houses with those kind of layouts. That's a terrible type of property to buy. As we've seen, people want open concepts. So those old century homes that were built in the 50s, it's really hard a lot of times to bring those into 2023 and make it cool and modern. So that's the video. I hope you learned a lot. I busted a lot of myths. So I hope you walk away with a lot of value, energy, and optimism to crush your real estate business. I will see you in the next video.